Good morning, how are you? So, today is Friday, and I'm continuing our daily conversation. Most of the questions are coming from readers of You Are the Universe, Discovering Your Cosmic Self and Why It Matters. But as I've said many times, you can send me any question on any topic, and I'll do my best to answer your question. Rishikesh Dikshit, Namaste. So the place to send your questions is info, I-N-F-O, at jayo, J-I-Y-O.com. info@jayo.com. Download the app, Jayo. Jayo is the internet for well-being, where we can all hang out together. Zach, happy birthday. Happy birthday to Zach Butler. Okay, so Jayo is the internet of well-being. You can download it from iTunes and also from on Android. And you can go to the internet and check out Jayo for Life and also jayo.com. Okay, so today's question is from Dvipa Thakur, D-V-I-P-A, Dvipa Thakur. And Dvipa says, this is Dvipa from Bangalore, India. I have read many spiritual books like Swami Narayan, Akshardham Sanstha and Dada Bhagwan Foundation. It's the same as yours. I would like to understand some things that are not quite clear to me. In the Swami Narayan tradition, they say there are 5 tattwas in the universe: Jeeva, Ishwar, Maya, Brahma, and Para Brahma. I have a few questions about the Brahma and the Para Brahma. If it is like we are Brahm, then who is Para Brahm, or what is Para Brahm? Thank you in advance for your help and kindness. Dvipa Thakur. Okay, so many of you probably don't understand this question because of the Sanskrit terms, and I will do my best to answer as accurately as possible. Okay, so the first thing that she mentions, Dvipa mentions, is tattwas. What exactly does tattva mean in Sanskrit? Tattva means a category of existence. Actually, you can also say that the closest English translation of tattva is that. So it's the quality of thatness, kind of in a way a cop-out, but in a way also very true, because existence is very difficult to define. In fact, existence and awareness of existence are the biggest mysteries of existence. There's no explanation for either existence or awareness of existence. But tattva simply means a quality or category of existence. So let's go over the categories that Dvipa asks about. The first category she asks about is Jeeva. So Jeeva is mostly translated by people as the individual soul. That's the correct translation of Jeeva. The Jeeva is basically the basis of your personality. Okay, so even when a baby is born, let's say you have identical twins, a mother will be able to tell you that she notices that they have different personalities. Now, this is very important. Aurora Carlson asking, isn't tattwa the same as qualia? Not quite. Let me finish this explanation and then we'll see if it is the same as qualia. Okay, so Jeeva is usually translated as the individual soul. The individual soul which gives rise to personality. It's the basis of personality. Okay, so I'm looking at my notes, the karmas are stored in the causal body and they need a physical body to permit their expression. So what is karma? Karma is past experience and the interpretation of past experience. So yesterday I went to a restaurant called Peace Foods. That is karma. Okay, and the experience is karma. That experience is now part of my memory bank, and it may be in my conscious memory or it may lie in my unconscious memory, and that unconscious memory gives me a tendency for future actions. So that potential memory or tendency is called sanskara, and sanskara leads to what we call vasana. Vasana is a tendency for desire, and vasana is a tendency of the individual personality which produces habitual modes of action often inherited from one's ancestors, but many people who are comfortable with this kind of mapping, they also say that vasanas are a result of memories of previous incarnations and sanskaras. But essentially, vasanas make people do what they do in spite of themselves because of their inherent tendency. So karma, memory and desire, is, we might say, the software of the soul, the jiva, that recycles through cosmic time on its journey to enlightenment. So jiva is a mode of existence, a category of existence in the framework that we are being asked by Deepak Chopra. So then she goes on to other tattvas, but there are many other tattvas that she does not mention. So the next tattva would be Atman. Atman is even beyond the Jeeva. Beyond the Jeeva, and that Atman is also frequently referred to as Jeev Atma. So the Jeev part of it is the conditioned soul, with its karma, memory, desires that gives rise to personality and ultimately to mind, intellect and ego. But the Atma is beyond the conditioning. So it is closer to what we call pure consciousness. And pure consciousness, Alison says Atman is witness. Yeah, you could say witnessing awareness. So beyond the conditioning, and frequently the translations say Atman is Brahman. So the unconditioned self is of the individual is also the unconditioned consciousness of the universe. And that is what it means. The self of the universe is the self of the universe. And that self of the universe is referred to as Brahman, Brahm, as Deepak says. What is Para Brahm then? Para-Brahm is when all witnessing awareness falls away, and what is left is inconceivable, intangible, immeasurable, imperceptible, and ultimately the only reality. Okay, Para-Brahm, beyond all categories, beyond all categories. Para-Brahm. Then Dvipa also asks, what is Ishwar? Ishwar is the human personification of this ultimate reality as a deity or as God. Okay, so when we say Ishwar, you see behind me, there's a statue right there of Mahalakshmi, the goddess of abundance. So all deities are actually symbolic expressions of higher states of consciousness. And if we can give a word to that, we say Ishwar, Ishwara, or Deva, or Devi, gods, goddesses, archetypes, but ultimately the chief archetype, Ishwar, personification of the ultimate reality as God. Remember, these are all human constructs for that which is actually inconceivable. Brahman, Para-Brahman, inconceivable. Even Atman, inconceivable. Even Jeeva, inconceivable, because they are beyond space-time and causality. Okay, they give rise, they project as space-time and causality. Okay, so I think I've answered Dvipa's questions, but she also asks about Maya. So Maya is the projection of consciousness, both as the body and as the physical world, or what we call the physical world. What we call the physical world, because in the deeper reality, there is no physical world. It's an interpretation of sense modulations. And these sensory modulations are activities of consciousness, just like the mind is an activity of consciousness. So Maya is related actually etymologically to the word matter. Maya, matter, meter. Meter means measurement, time. Time is the measurement of the infinite into the finite. So meter, matter, Maya, mother, matrix, time, music, measurement, all this is Maya. The projection that we interpret ultimately as the physical reality. But there's no physical reality ultimately, because it's just a fluctuation in consciousness. And actually the fluctuation arises and subsides as soon as it arises. That's why it's a shimmering vibration of consciousness that we call the body and the world. And as we know, the body is an activity. It's never the same, and nor is the world ever the same. It's a shimmering fluctuation. The continuity to it is given by you. I am, which is consciousness, with all those layers. Jeeva, Atman, Brahman, Para-Brahman, ultimately. Totally unmanifest. Okay, so there are some other tattvas, categories of existence that Dvipa has not asked about, but I will explore them with you as soon as I come back in 15 seconds, okay? Okay, so Ramanand Dikshit was saying Param Atman, Paramatma, or frequently said Paramatma, which is Atman and Paramatman, beyond the Atman. Remember, these are attempts by human beings to categorize existence. So what are the other tattvas that I haven't mentioned? The other tattvas are sattva, rajas, tamas. So sattva is pure creativity, pure potentiality, pure potentiality, pure creativity. What else could I say? Perfect equilibrium, and they are inherent in the causal body. The causal body is what we call the body of the soul, Jeeva, Atman, Paramatma, Brahman, Para Brahman, etc. Okay, so that would be called Sattva, S-T-S-A-T-V-A, Sattva. And this Sattva, when it's disturbed, leads to the activity that we call transformation, which is called Rajas. So Rajas is the activity of Sattva into the transformation of pure consciousness into what you might want to call energy. And then there's the third guna, as it's called, which is also a tattva, and that is called tamas. Tamas is inertia, or that which we experience as matter. We experience as matter. Okay, so sattva, rajas, tamas. These are the three categories through which pure consciousness becomes conscious of itself as space-time, energy, information, and matter. And then if you know Ayurveda, you also use categories of existence called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Vata is the principle of movement or transformation. Vata is the principle of movement or transport. Pitta is the principle of fire, transformation, the fire of transformation, frequently called Agni, which is the basis of the word ignite and leads to inflammation if out of control. And then Kapha, which is the principle of structure. So any system you look at, including your computer, it has those three principles, transport, movement, transformation, and structure, or inertia. So these are categories of existence that we as human beings have created in order to create maps of experience. The maps are never the experience. I can give you a description of something, but the description is never the experience. Like when you go to a restaurant, and the menu is nothing that you can eat. You can look at the menu, but if you have memories of course, what you've eaten before, then even looking at the menu can make you salivate. If you think of your favorite food, or if you think of a lemon, you can see how the subtle body is immediately transforming itself into the physical body, or that which we call the physical body, and ultimately the experience of the physical universe. Okay, so let's complete this map then. We have the physical body, which is the body of energy and matter. This is called Annamaya Kosha. Anna means food, Maya means full of food, and Kosha means layer. It's also called Pranamaya Kosha. Prana is the energy that goes along with the matter. And of course, if you understand Ayurveda, then there are many, many types of prana. Apana vayu, samana vayu, udana vayu, and on and on. You know, the 5 vayus, which are the 5 basic movements in the body. And this is the physical body. And then there's the subtle body, which is the conditioned mind, the intellect, and the ego. The intellect allows us to make choices, and it is the place of the mind where there is discernment, or what is frequently translated as discrimination, but discrimination is not a good word these days. So discernment is a good word. That's where the intellect is, and the intellect is also engaged in things like self-reflection, self-inquiry. Is the basis of science, mathematics, etc. And then there's the ego, which is basically the conditioned mind. Okay, so that's the subtle body. Physical body, pranamaya kosha, annamaya kosha. The subtle body is frequently called the sthul sharir. Aurora is giving the full 5 vayus: prana, udana, apana, samana, etc. And then as we go beyond the subtle body, beyond this mind, intellect, and ego, then the first thing we encounter is the Jeeva, with its karma, memory, desire, or the basis of personality. Go beyond the Jeeva, the unconditioned Jivatma. Go beyond that, Brahman, and go beyond that, Para-Brahman. Human maps to explain existence. Ultimately, there is no explanation. It's a human attempt to create a map. The categories of existence are called tattwas, that. And of course, you've heard the expression tattvam asi. I am that, you are that, that alone is. And there is nothing other than that. And what is that? That is the mystery of existence and the mystery of the awareness of existence. So when we are done with all these maps, we realize that maps are not the territory, right? The map is never the territory. If I tell you I'll meet you on the corner of 56th and Broadway, that's a notation. Interestingly, the word notation is the same thing as notice. But when you notice something, then you ignore everything else, because you've focused and contracted your awareness to that which you're noticing. And so by noticing bits and pieces of experience, we create maps. But with bits and pieces of experience, we can never experience the whole. In order to experience the whole, we finally let go of all maps and we surrender in deep humility and deep reverence to mystery. And when we do that, then we experience wholeness. We experience joy. That's why it's also called Sat Chit Ananda. Sat means truth, Chit, knowing, Ananda, eternal joy. The eternal joy can only come by ultimately letting go of all maps and surrendering to the divinity which is both in you and around you and everywhere else. Everywhere else. There is only divinity. The rest is a story. The rest is a story. Somebody asks here, what about love and heartbreak? So, love is non-duality, and heartbreak is duality. The world suffers because the world is duality, me and the universe. But non-duality says, I am the universe. Who or what this experience is the fluctuation of that which is whole, a localized contraction. All you have to do is settle into being. Let the wave settle into the ocean. So maybe I'll close with a poet of a quote from Rumi. He says, "Let the waters settle, and you will see stars and moon reflected in your being." Let the waters settle, and you will see stars and moon mirrored in your being. Elsewhere, I look into your eyes and see the universe not yet born. Every child born is I returning to experience itself as I am this and I am that. I returns in every child that is born. That's why Rabindranath Tagore also said, every child that is born is proof that God has not yet given up on human beings. Jina, she says, concealed, revealed, absolutely. Conceive. Whatever is fluctuating now as appearance also returns to formless. And whatever is formless now returns to form. Form and formless go with each other. If it is form, then it will return to formlessness. And if it is formless, it will return to form. And it, what is it? You are it. I am it. It returns as all knowers, all modes of knowing, all things known. But ultimately there is only the knowing, which is Chit. Chit is knowing. Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. That's what Rishikesh said. Beautiful. Brahma, Mithya, Jagat. It's all the play of consciousness, the infinite play of consciousness. And it's a play. It's a divine play. the unborn appears and disappears, always remaining unborn, transcendent even as it appears as the immanent. Until tomorrow.